Cooking with Grandma. There's two different ways of processing and canning. You can use a pressure cooker that builds up steam, or if you have a non-acidic, like tomatoes and fruit, you use a water bath, just boiling water, and you can use any kind of a big pot as long as you can have the water over the top of them. So this is a pressure canner. And for
You want to look at it, Cody? Yeah.
it has a bottom in it, and then the ring goes in the lid, but the ring needs to be wet when you put it in, or it won't stay in very well. So all we need to do is wait for that lid to get hot. So, has anybody here ever canned before? So you know all about it.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know all about it.
Well,
I've been in the kitchen when it was being done.
okay. So you can correct me if I.
No.
I can.
I don't correct grandmas.
We live on a farm in Kentucky, and we can most of the food that we eat because it doesn't have preservatives in it. And we have then food in the winter when our garden is not growing. I do have a greenhouse, but I haven't tried to grow in the winter yet. So, and we have our own chickens, so we have our own eggs. And we have a rooster, so it's fertile eggs, so we have our own eggs. And we only eat grass-fed beef, so we have a steer that we graze, and we don't give it any grain. It's just grass-fed because the fat in the beef then is more an omega-3 fat than an omega-6. And my husband has heart trouble, so he shouldn't have beef, but he can have grass-fed beef. It's healthier for you, so. How's that doing, Derrick?
It's going well. How high is this? I mean, just let it simmer.
Let me see how. That's probably warm enough.
Okay, so we just keep it going that way or turn it
No,
off?
you can just turn it off.
Cool.
Okay. And I'm going to save this water. And you put the lid on, and you tighten it down.
Can you show it to Cody?
You tighten the lid, and then I kind of back off a little bit and tighten it just a little more. You want to do that, Derrick?
So,
Untighten it.
untighten it?
Yeah, like you were putting it on.
Okay.
Okay, now,
Tighten it?
yeah, tighten it. Not real tight. Now back it off a little bit. Yeah, that's about right.
Cool. Does everybody want to get a feel of that? So does that allow for like the heat to, so when it expands it doesn't like Or what's the purpose of having that loose a little bit? It's just how you do it?
I don't know.
That's just what Grandma does, and that's what works.
That's what, yeah, you had it just about right. Okay, for a pressure canner, you need about 2 ounces of water in the bottom.
Okay.
So, Derrick, do you want to put some water in it?
Sure. So what all will this, like this particular process that we're doing, what other kind of vegetables would be good for this?
You could put beets. I can a lot of beets, carrots, corn.
Canada's beets. Beets are good.
Beets are good.
Beets are really good.
Yeah. And I make a lot of our soups because we live 10 miles from a gallon of milk. We live in the foothills of the Appalachian. It's very, it takes us 20 minutes to get to town. So, which is nothing here, I guess. You go a lot longer than that, but I buy a lot of dried beans and I can them in the fall so that, if you want to make chili or you want to have beans and cornbread or anything like that, you don't have to soak the beans overnight and cook them all day. And so I do a lot of that so that, you have food on hand, but if electricity goes out, you can still eat it.
And also, like the stuff that most of us here buy at the store, like canned stuff, all of pretty much canned product, canned beans, canned anything, they have those canned products that have fluoridated water in them as well. So if you're canning and drying yourself, then you can eliminate that.
And BPA lining.
Yeah, BPA lining.
And the lining of the cans that you buy in the grocery store is very toxic.
What do you do to minimize your risk of having like botulism and poisoning? Botulinum toxin growing in the canned food?
If it seals, it doesn't grow.
Okay.
I mean, if the jars are sterilized and your product doesn't have any, bacteria on it, and it seals, then it won't get botulism. If it does, usually the lid comes up.
Okay, so pop lid.
Unseals itself.
Okay. And do you?
Is that right? Try to live
That's good.
Good.
Do you boil your jars beforehand usually to sterilize them?
I do, and
Just 2 inches.
2 inches from.
I have a dishwasher, so I'm running through the
So the
dishwasher
finger goes
now.
down
But normally, when I was growing up,
right there.
we washed them in very hot bleach water.
Nice.
All right, and we'll put the lid on. Okay, and we'll put it on the stove. And Derrick can turn it on. Okay, turn it on high. And leave it on high. As that water gets boiling in there, the steam is going to come out the top here. And then we're going to let the steam come out the top for 10 minutes before we put the pressure gauge on, before we put this on. So, let me get my canning book. It's a lot. In fact, it's probably from 1950 or something like that, but we'll look up carrots. Okay, it says carrots should process 25 minutes at 10 pounds pressure. And that little gauge that I had over here, this is a 5, 10, or 15 pound gauge. So we'll use that for 25 minutes after we get this on.
Well,
So-
so did you bring this too? Is this
Yes,
this something else you?
this is salsa that I can, and I actually use them. This is Wages salsa package, but you don't have to. But the package is way too hot for me, so I just use one package, and then I put all kinds of peppers, onions, garlic, whatever you like in your salsa, and then I can it. So I probably have 50 jars at this time of year going into the winter. And I'll probably have 100 quarts of green beans because we like green beans a lot. And I make a lot of beets and pickled beets and bread and butter pickles and dill pickles and
Bread and butter pickles?
bread and butter pickles. Have you ever heard of those? No? It's kind of like a sweet sour pickle.
Crazy.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Well,
So how long is that good for? Like, I mean, how long do they preserve for?
a lot of your foods will stay 5-6 years, as long as it sounds like this. Now, let me, that's a good point. What did I do with it? Let me show you something. See how dull that is? See how sharp that is?
Is that because of the pressure that
Two
builds up in
different
the can
tones.
when you can it?
And this little ball is up.
Mhm.
It's when it's done, it's down,
Right.
and then it's pressurized in there. So
I used to like the sound when they would do a whole bunch of them, and then it would get to that pressure, and then you would just start hearing.
yep. Well, you'll hear it with the one can of carrots.
Oh, so you'll hear them
So-
inside there, like.
No,
getting-
when it comes out.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Now, if you want to share the salsa and
You
the
guys
chips,
want some?
How do you do that?
how do I do what?
How do we make the salsa?
You eat it.
Oh, okay.
What's the difference between this method and the boiling bath method?
Pardon?
Didn't you say like the other method is by submerging the cans, the
In
jars
water.
inside the water? But what is the main difference between the two?
It is the acidity of the product that you're canning.
So, like, if it was
like
tomatoes
tomato
or something?
juice and those kind of things don't need that kind of pressure. For example, if I were canning a green bean and I put it in a water bath canner, I would have to boil that jar for probably 4 hours, where in the pressure canner, it's done in like 75 minutes.
The acid pH of the food that you're canning makes it so that if it's a high acid food, it doesn't need as much time because the natural acidity just kind of like locks out the potential for bacteria to grow in it.
So if you're making tomato juice or something like that, and you have a very low acidic, low acid tomato, you actually should put some lemon juice or a little bit of vinegar in it or something like that. Is it okay? So you want to pass it around?
Sorry, I was just. Could you do salsa in like the other method?
Yes. Yes, salsa would be a water bath method.
Cool.
And just put, your tomatoes and garlic and onions and cilantro, peppers, all kinds of peppers,
Peñas.
and you put a little jalapenos in it, right?
So,
And
does
then,
it work the
and
same
then
with
to
fruit?
can the salsa, you would get it to the boiling point, and then you put it in your clean, sterilized jars, and get your lids warm, tighten them down, put it in your canner, and cover them with water, and get that up to boiling, and then keep it boiling for probably 20 minutes. You don't have to have it on high, so so it boils over, but keep it simmering for that long. And after 20 minutes, take them out, and you will hear the pop pop as the lids seal.
So it doesn't seal till after they're cooling off.
Pardon?
It doesn't seal till after they cool off.
Isn't there pineapple?
Right, as they cool,
What?
they seal.
Yeah,
If there's anything coming out the top of that, is there any
Some
steam
stain.
coming out? Take your hand.
Where's the hole?
In the back.
No, here,
Oh yeah, it'll come out the top.
yeah. There's
Don't
nothing
fit.
coming out yet, so it isn't ready yet. And they make these canners bigger and they make them smaller. But you can actually use this as a water bath canner and just not,
You could fit more in there, more cans in there, yeah.
I don't think
More than just 8.
at
do
quarts. No, just 8 because that's all will fit.
Oh.
And take the, what I put in there, that rubber seal. Take the rubber seal out and don't put the lid on the pressure gauge, and you can use this as a water bath canner. Just put more water in it.
You don't have to seal it though.
You mean the
If you're
canner?
doing a water bath, do you need to seal it?
No.
Okay.
And could you stack the jars on top of each other for a water bath?
I wouldn't advise it unless you had some kind of a
Racks and stuff?
rack that the jars weren't touching each other. Then you probably could do two
2 racks.
racks of pints. I have not tried that.
And how much does a typical pressure canner cost to buy?
Today's, I have no idea. I've had that for 20 years.
About $100.
$100.
Very good quality one.
When that,
Yeah.
then we're gonna put this pressure gauge on it.
Yeah, I've done that.
10
A girl
pounds
told me
pressure.
that, and then I started doing it after that.
And then you're going to hear it jiggle.
But I like it when they
So it moves when it's like it jiggles when it's the right pressure,
Yeah.
or when it's hit.
It's so bad.
There's too much pressure.
Hammer right there.
We're going to adjust the flame under the burner so that it jiggles 2 to 3 times a minute.
Okay. So that's how you kind of measure the pressure.
Yeah, I'll be
Right,
quiet.
that's how we measure the pressure. There are many different kinds of
I figured out
pressure
that this
cookers, and some of them they do them different ways. You know,
Oh,
they
I
actually have
used,
the
um,
temperature. This is the old-fashioned way.
Well, that's the way that you've learned.
Yes,
Got it. This works. It works.
it works.
Alright, it's done, Grandma.
Okay.
Cody, you in here?
Where's
Good?
the, oh, there's the camera.
I'm here.
Okay, we're putting the pressure gauge on at 10 pounds pressure. And now the pressure's going to build up, and as it builds up, this is going to jiggle, and you'll hear it in just probably a minute.
And you want it to jiggle like 2-3 times a minute?
2 to 3 times a minute. There's the jiggle.
That's a jiggle?
Pete, would you want to turn it down just a little bit? Are you really going to get in here? Okay.
I think we're
Okay.
There you go.
Now it's, you have a clock that has a timer and
Yeah,
a second hand on it?
I just have digital.
I do.
I have a timer.
I got one.
Okay. So it's jiggling way too long, so I've turned it down a little bit.
Oh, it's
Okay.
instead of just
Now
a couple
start
times.
timing it now.
not yet.
And we'll see how many times, 2 to 3 times a minute. That was hardly a jiggle.
You got a jiggle?
That's a jiggle.
That's a jiggle. So it should do that and then stop and then kind of go on and do it again. 30 seconds.
Once you get to know your stove, you know, you can just turn it to it.
You know exactly where to set
Yeah,
it.
you know where to set it.
Well, it's 2 times and it's been 45 seconds.
one more in the next 15 seconds.
2 to 3.
There you go.
Yeah.
Made it.
Okay, so that's probably okay. We'll wait about 5 minutes and we'll check it again then to make sure that it's still.
So
Okay.
once it starts, rattling off, you turn down the heat, and you want to get to that place where for a good 5 minutes or so it just rattles 2 to 3 times per minute. Because
Right,
it's still
and then
sealed
for
up.
25 minutes. So what
Okay.
time is it now?
3:55.
Okay,
So send alarm.
25 minutes.
25 minutes.
And when it finishes rattling after 25 minutes, then you just simply set it off the burner and do not do anything with it until it cools for at least a half hour. If you take the pressure off too soon, the liquid will just be sucked right out of the jars.
Okay.
And
They won't seal.
it may seal, but it won't have any liquid in it, so it won't, it won't stay very long.
Yeah.
You couldn't keep it. And I've even tried, taking it over to the sink and putting cold water over it, and it cools it too fast. The pressure doesn't go down slowly. All right. It's off. It's done.
Now with the oven on, is it gonna keep it
I don't
hotter
know.
for longer?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering. Because these guys are probably wanting to get going. You're coming back here to a party tonight, aren't you? Okay, the pressure's gone.
And how long did that sit for?
Well, did set for half hour.
Half hour.
About a half hour after the pressure.
Smells like carrot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Carrot
flavor.
flavor.
I gotta sit this down somewhere.
You just said that's okay. There's a bigger towel if you need.
Butter on the bread.
Smells really good.
There are the
Awesome.
carrots.
Yes. Exciting.
It might already have sealed. Let me just figure it out here. It already sealed.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Butter both sides or
Yeah.
just the top?
Here's I gotta take a picture of that. That's
It's
awesome.
sealed. Canned carrots.
It's the soft massage. Light tissue.
There's that sound.
Light
That's the
application.
one we're looking for.
That's that sound.
Thank you.
There
Grandma.
was a nice
Yay!
somewhere.
Zen.
You're welcome, you're welcome. Enjoy.